Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
How's everybody doing today?
Hello.
Great.
Hi,
Blessed to
doing
be here.
great. Doing great.
Yay. Love it. I'm experiencing some technical challenges today, everybody. I'll say that a couple of times. So like my computer completely froze up, so I'm on my phone, but thank goodness to technology, we can figure it out together, okay?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Tanya Torno here. Just wanted to say hello to everyone. Welcome, welcome. We're excited to have you here.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Okay, let's see. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Finally.
Yes.
Sorry about that. You can hear me and see me okay. I am so
Yes.
sorry. You ever had a grumpy computer?
Several times.
Have you ever, like, your computer rebels because you have 500 applications
Maybe it'll
open?
probably be more 8 o'clock. Is that fine?
Oh, and then you have your email box is too full, so it gets cranky at you. Have you ever had that happen?
All the time.
All the time. It's nice to see all your lovely faces today. Welcome to the Continuum of Care meeting. We'll give it just a few more minutes. It looks like we've got 63 people on so far. So let's see. You guys are so quiet today. What's the word of wisdom from somebody out there? Come on, let me hear it. Anybody got one?
This is actually my first time joining today.
Is that right?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All are
You
welcome.
said words of wisdom?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Grace. We all need to practice grace.
Oh, love it.
Yes.
Isn't that for sure? Give it and graciously receive it, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Come on, Amy. I see you smiling. What's your word of wisdom today, Miss Amy?
Oh my God.
The word of wisdom that came to mind was speak softly but carry a big stick.
Oh.
That one.
Well, one of my favorites, and in this space we need it a lot, and my team members would tell you I say it a lot, is you got to have a thick skin and a soft heart. If your skin is so thick, then you lose your empathy and compassion for others. If your heart is too soft, sometimes the work is so hard it can crush you, right? So you got to find that sweet spot so you guys can do a good job, transforming lives out there. So thank you, as I've been trying to work through my little grumpy computer technical issues. Would like to welcome you all to our May 20th Continuum of Care meeting. I cannot believe it is already almost the end of the fiscal year for those of you that operate on a fiscal year budget. Here we are already in May. So we're going to go ahead and dive right into the agenda. If you haven't already signed in, I believe, did we link in the chat for the roster?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so make sure you guys, if you're a voting member, that you go ahead and register to show that you're here, because later in the agenda, we do need to take some action. So while you're doing the roll call process, I wanted to make some announcements. We have new members that have signed on to the Continuum of Care. And if you're here in the room with all of us, let us know that you're here as I read your names. Hearts in Action, Hamptons Manor, Love Facilities LLC, I Am Human. Is that, all right, help me say this right. Kahuya?
Maria.
Pardon me? Did I say it right? Kahuya Band of Indians?
Kauai.
Kauai, thank you. Thank you. Kauai is beautiful. Reclaiming Hope Sober House LLC and the Happier Life Project. Are any of you here? You want to say hello to us?
Yes.
Well, welcome to
My
the
name is
new
Greg.
member.
I'm here from Manor.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you for joining the Riverside County Continuum of Care. We love having new members.
Yeah.
And
Hi, from Chamonix Foundation.
welcome. And then we have
Thank
one
you.
new voting member reappointed. So to be a voting member, you have 3 consecutive meetings. And so Family Promise is now reinstituted as a voting member. We love Family Promise. Thank you so much. So everybody, every time we have new members and voting members, we always want to celebrate that because we are all in this together. And we're stronger together. So I just want to welcome you all. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. Okay, so a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. I thought it would be good, like to reflect on inspirational quotes, because I hope that we all can leave this meeting feeling refreshed and renewed, because that's what you do out there every day. And each one of you is a leader. Every member of the Continuum of Care is a leader. And so we either succeed together or fail together. Do you agree? Because we're looked at as one integrated whole. So we're all in this together. So a couple of leadership quotes that came to mind for me that I wanted to share with you guys today. One is, for our own success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others. You guys do that every day, don't you? And you know who said that? Eleanor Roosevelt. So for your success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others. And then a gentleman named John Quincy Adams once said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. So I leave you with those quotes as you think about and reflect on all of the amazing work that you do. I wanted to just, all of us as leaders in this room together, commit to being a resource to one another. As your chair, I want you to know I always want to continue to be a resource for you. So one of the things we love to do, and I hope you remember this, if you're writing a grant, we can provide a letter of support. We love to sign those. And also remember, if you are writing a grant, and we can be a resource for you. Maybe there's data that you need from HMIS. Maybe there's data you need from the Riverside County Office of Education. If there's pointers that you need, you have technical experts here, and that's what we want to do, is be a resource to you. Also, some of the other things that we've had going on, we want to make sure that we get out into the field and to see you all. And we're actually organizing tours to do that. And we hope that if you have a new program, shelter, housing development that you'd like to share, that you'd invite us out to be able to come with you.
Yes, oh, okay. No problem. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. I don't know if we can mute. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So just remember that. Don't be shy if you would like us to visit you and meet with you in the field. It's really important for us to make sure that we see your programs in living color and that we can be a resource to you. So a couple of other things I wanted to mention. I know in the near future, Tanya's going to have a very focused agenda item about this, but remember our homeless action plan. If you look at every single agenda, At the front of the agenda, have you ever noticed that we list our 5 action plan areas? If you haven't looked at the agenda, go back and look at it, because there's 5 things like strengthen the system to prevent and end homelessness, equitably address health, safety, and service needs of people experiencing homelessness, expand communities' capacities to provide safe and effective shelter and housing. There's 5 of those areas. That homeless action plan is available to you on the website, and maybe we can even link it in the chat. If you haven't ever looked at it, you should, because it was launched by us collectively in January of 22. So that means January of 27, we're going to be 5 years in. So before we get to January of 27, we're going to start having discussions with the Continuum of Care and the Board of Governance about how far we've come as a system. And remember, when the federal government looks at us, the state government looks at us, they look at us as a whole in terms of how the system is performing. So it'll be really exciting to reflect back on those goals and see how far we've come. Does that make sense to everybody? And remember, that document is like the umbrella. Everything that we do feeds up to that homeless action plan. And for any of our city partners on the line, remember, if you don't have your own strategic plan, you could literally copy paste from the action plan. Or there's other cities in the region, like our city, Corona, we have a strategic plan. Just copy paste. That way you can focus on the most important things, and the next step is developing services and helping people. So just remember, that's what the Continuum of Care is here for, is to be a resource for all of you. Also, we want to continue to focus on leadership spotlights. So if there's a special program or leader that you would like to spotlight, I hope that you will let me know, because we love to do that. So please don't be shy, because if there are great things that we need to be spotlighting for everyone else, we want to do that. Let's see, anything else I want to say to you? The only other thing is, if you're experiencing some, let's say, barriers in your community regarding NIMBY. Does anybody know what NIMBY is out there? Someone want to tell me?
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard. If you need some helpful, thank you. Was that you, Gina? Thank you.
Sorry.
If you need helpful tips on how you can build relationships with businesses and residents and elected officials, we have an amazing good neighbor policy. We can support you and help you with that. So just remember, that's what we're here to do, is to support you so that you can be successful. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and go on to the next agenda item. At this time, members of the Continuum of Care will entertain comments from the public. Do we have any written comments that have been received?
Hi, Karen. On my end, no, we haven't received any.
Okay. Is there anybody that has a public comment? If you do, you have 3 minutes to provide a public comment for items that are not on the agenda. Anybody? You guys are so quiet today. Okay. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. I got to get you guys excited and pumped up. Come on. We now have the opportunity to have our Continuum of Care Leadership Spotlight, and I'm excited that we have the Inland Regional Reentry Collaborative. Ms. Vanya, are you on?
Yes, hi, Karen. Yep, I'm here. I don't know if you want me to screen share or if you all are going to run the slides.
They're gonna, I think the team has the slides already. You'll have to forgive me, Vanya. I've been having some technical difficulties today, but I do have. Okay, so I wanted to tell everybody a little bit about Miss Vanya. Vanya is the co-founder and outgoing executive director of Starting Over, an innovative and Strategic Reentry Service Organization founded here in 2009. She is a California native with Southern roots who has been deeply involved in the carceral and child welfare systems. Vanya is the founder of Starting Over and Strong and is that Ruchel Clinique, Maggie Community Land Trust, which was inspired and is the legacy of liberation and freedom work. Vanya is a practicing attorney and leader who serves on the board of the California Black Power Network, formerly incarcerated and convicted people and families movement, IE United, and a new way of life. Having been a fellow in several leadership cohorts locally and statewide and nationally, she is a member of several alumni organizations that continue to cultivate new leadership. She uses her experience, practice, and leadership to support and learn from community, love it, while co-building bridges of belonging and opportunity for the communities she is part of. And I can tell you that I absolutely adore Vanya and the important work of Starting Over. For our city, in the city of Corona, we proudly fund Starting Over. And I know Starting Over has had a major influence on this amazing collaborative. And so, Vanya, the floor is yours to tell everybody about the Inland Regional Reentry Collaborative.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Karen. It's amazing to see the shift that we've seen in the county. It's really like the whole paradigm has shifted. And I think it's because of the folks here in this space, folks who are part of the policy reentry subcommittee of this group. We were sitting around talking, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So the architecture of healing, and it's looking at, and what this body, I think, and the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative have helped to do is kind of shift the paradigm. So it's not just about locking up people or thinking we're locking up the problem, but remembering that 98% of the people that get incarcerated are returning home to this community. And what are we going to do? And so we've seen the paradigm shift. We've seen it's almost like magic. And we're seeing the drops in recidivism numbers. We're seeing lives changed on the front lines. And so we believe that holistic reentry is the way to go. Next slide. So the policy part of the changes that we see don't do everything, but they do give us a place or a reference point from which to further engage our work. And so we've seen changes both with the fair chance hiring and fair chance housing that have done a lot. One, to make sure that people who are reentering have an open door somewhere, whether it's in transitional housing, in renting their own apartments, or living in certain neighborhoods. And so we have seen what can happen as a result of that. We see it with fair chance hiring. And there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of educating employers about the rights of people who've been incarcerated to obtain employment. But those things have helped to kind of shift the conversation and also shift the outcomes that many people experience. So the structural policy part is one piece, but this whole middle piece we think is a game changer. And that is seeing systems work together. This whole person care initiative is actually working, and it's working in real time. So we see that the Riverside University Health System is now getting records. So if a person is incarcerated in this county, those records are not lost. They actually follow the person. And so we're seeing that's really good. We've seen the Inland Region Collaborative finish its first year of operating. And I'm going to be talking about the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative, how it was born, who its partners are, and what its goals are. So we also know how much it costs to incarcerate people. And it costs a lot to incarcerate from a financial perspective, but it costs even more to the communities that people are part of. And so we think removing barriers, providing the mental health services that people need where they need them is critical. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing people stabilize themselves and stabilize their families as a result of these systems actually coming together. Sustainable public safety isn't achieved through prolonged isolation, but through immediate, structured reintegration. Next slide. So I was doing some research and I was very surprised, kind of dismayed, to see that a person that's just coming home from incarceration has almost a 13% higher risk of death in the first 2 weeks after they've been released. Many of these deaths are attributed to overdose, but we're seeing how important it is that they don't come home and hit the streets, that they don't come home and hit the river bottom, that we have services here waiting for them. So that's the human toll. We also realize that we spend a lot of money incarcerating people pre-trial, which means they have not been convicted of anything yet. And they are in there because they don't have the resources to make bail for the most part. Most of the people that are incarcerated pre-trial aren't there because they're a safety issue. They're there because they don't have the money to make bail. And so what if we had other resources or other services that we could provide to people who have not been convicted of any crime instead of incarceration? We know that about 40% of the people in the county jails have some kind of self-identified mental health need. And so there might be other solutions. So we believe that's an institutional bottleneck, that if we could address that it would help us a lot on the reentry journey. And it costs about $106,000 a year per person to incarcerate them. And we know that service delivery would alleviate probably 60% of those costs and provide housing to the people, which is very, very important to anyone's reentry.
Hi, Vanya. I think you muted yourself.
I did. I muted myself and I was trying to progress the slides from my computer, but it didn't work. And then I remembered, yeah, thank you.
You're good.
And so we talked about the paradigm shift. So this shows you kind of what the traditional carceral model looked like and what we have all created today. And you'll see it's a lot different. The outcomes are different. And the drops in the recidivism rate look much better. So the traditional carceral model was about, punishing people for crime and locking them up. And a lot of collateral consequences were associated with incarceration. The fact that you carry a conviction can affect your employment, your housing, your ability to volunteer with your children at their schools. So there are these collateral consequences that come with it. And not a lot of thought about the impact that this has on communities or families, but really wanting to hone in and hold a person accountable by putting them in this punishment or containment space. Where the whole person restorative model is much different. It actually looks at healing, accountability to the victims, and reintegration. So, what those things that need to happen, we see even after relying on the traditional carceral model, we still have to struggle with figuring out how do we reintegrate people who have been incarcerated. So the restorative model is of course holistic, and the outcomes so far have been much better. Next slide. This is a foundation for reentry, and it starts with the Policy and Advocacy Foundation. And we saw in 2014 with the passing of Prop 47, we saw AB 109 in 2011. So we started seeing these changes, which began to help to change the way people think about what public safety really looks like and what we really want to gain from it. And so we saw a lot of bills passed. We saw it around people with criminal convictions, their right to access voting ballots, their ability to vote now, whether they're on parole or not, they can still vote. So we've seen, this is the Policy and Advocacy Foundation. We saw changes to housing laws that will allow people with criminal convictions to live in particular neighborhoods or receive housing subsidies. So that was kind of the foundation, and we saw changes both in housing and employment, which have helped to make it better, much easier for people to reintegrate and have successful reentry. And then the CAP, oh, y'all know the CAP. Y'all know the CAP. The CAP is the care and services that they're receiving both from the county and from partnerships like Continuum of Care or the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative, where people are working together. And technology has even played a very significant part in how information is shared and you know, throughout everyone doing the work. Advocacy is a bedrock of public safety. Treating individuals clinically doesn't matter if we structurally deny them a place to live and work. And that was probably the secret sauce in making sure that all the efforts that behavioral health and all its partners are putting into reentry, now there's a place for people to go and move forward. There's a pathway out of a past. Next slide. Okay, we'll do this one. This one talks about the work that you all are doing. And I wrote that down, statistical analysis systems. I'm like, what the heck is that? But it's part of that technology solution. And that is making sure that the Riverside jails, the county medical clinics, and behavioral health are all sharing the same information. And this is helpful. I have a brother who goes in and out of the Riverside County Jail even today. He's on medication, has been on medication since he was a child, but his medical records now travel with him. Before, if he were to get pulled over and someone asked him about his medication or, you know, what he had been on, or if we took him to ETS, he would get amnesia all of a sudden on top of his other problems, and he would not remember what kind of medication he was on. Well, now it's there. The records are there and they travel with them. Next slide. And this kind of goes to show the importance of intervention, the work that we are all doing, how critical and important it is. So with just one intervention from behavioral health, there's a 65% reduction in the recidivism rate. And if they go to a substance abuse appointment or they go to recovery meetings, there's a 50% reduction in the recidivism rate. And we're just talking about one instance. And so we know these things work, and there's a history of it. Next slide. So this is the timeline that shows what's been spent. And it going back to 2011, and 2011 is when AB 109 went into effect. And AB 109 was the shifting or the restructuring of people from the state prison down to county level facilities like jails and probation instead of prison and parole. And so when this shift happened, there weren't a lot of resources that went into it. You know, the counties were really concerned that they weren't going to have enough money to meet the needs and the demands. And we still hear that. But what we have seen is we've seen an increase in the amount of money spent on behavioral health and the outcomes. So the 3-year recidivism rate went from about almost 54% down to 47.5. And that was 47.5 in 2015. So it's even gone down more since then. There are a couple of things that happened. In addition to AB 109, Prop 47 went into effect in 2014. And it was a very controversial change, and it was scary to a lot of people. it actually reduced 6 low-level felonies to misdemeanors or back to misdemeanors. And it was the first bill in the state of California that actually reallocated money from CDCR, which is the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, to community organizations and cities and counties. With Prop 47, it was required that the counties or cities or entities had a pass-through of at least 50% to the CBOs. And it was about $100 million annually that went into funding housing, recovery, treatment programs, all the reentry services that many people believe were needed. And so there was a decade, from 2014, 2014 to 2024, there had been every year, every legislative cycle, there were bills being introduced to undo Prop 47 and get that money back to CDCR. And in 2025, we actually saw the shift with Prop 36. And we can go to the next slide. And we'll talk about Prop 36 and 47 because a lot of people are still looking for the resources that they believed were going to come with Prop 36. And so maybe we can figure out how to advocate and bring some of those resources to the county. But the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative, the brainchild of, I think it was Criselda Varela, Anise Smith, and Shannon from probation, of course, Tanya Torno and her team, who were part of this policy committee under the Continuum of Care. And we were trying to figure out how to operate and function in a way that wouldn't challenge some of the county departments to engage in some of the policy work that some of us wanted to engage in. And we weren't working in the county or for the government. So we had a little more autonomy than some folks. And so we were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And so we landed on, why don't we check with the community and see what they say? Why don't we host this community collaborative event? And so we hosted it. And I think that was in 2024, I think. I believe it was 2024. And so we hosted the Reentry Collaborative. Karen and Tanya and Criselda, a bunch of people were on this committee, and we actually pulled it off. And a lot of people showed up, and we're like, oh my goodness, this is great. And so after that, we continued to meet and push it forward, not to take away from Continuum of Care, because we're all members of the Continuum of Care. This is a great housing focused collaborative. And the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative is focused on the reentry component, because there is a significant overlap of people who are unhoused with the reentering population. We found that 74% of the people who are unhoused on our streets in Riverside County have criminal conviction histories. And so we know there's a lot of overlap, but some of the work of the Reentry Collaborative falls outside of the scope a little bit of Continuum of Care. And so we're part of both. And the Reentry Collaborative focuses on all the different elements of reentry, including housing, employment, discrimination based on conviction history, family reunification, and policy and advocacy work. And so we focus on advocacy and rights. There are members of Continuum of Care who are also part of the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative. The Inland Region Reentry Collaborative is actually dual county. So it's a regional collaborative. It is San Bernardino and Riverside County. They move the meetings around so that people can have access to the meetings, and they focus on how do we get reentry right. They've just created a board of directors. Criselda Varela has led this work like a awesome person with vision for the past year. And so they've just started their own board, and Starting Over had been the fiscal sponsor, and now it's going to become its own entity. There's about 180 members of the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative, and that includes community partners, it includes government partners, it includes people from probation, people from the sheriff's department. It's a collaborative. It's a collaborative that's focused on reentry. Next slide. And so we believe these are 5 pillars of reintegration. And so the middle and all of these pillars are important. I don't think there's a reentry picture or framework that doesn't include these things. And that is the mental health and substance use, mentorship and lived experiences, making sure that we center people with lived experiences, not just as people who can share their story, but people who can create strategy, delivery, and execution of reentry programs that work. Workforce development, housing navigation, and the restorative life skills. And this takes many, many shapes. And I know, all of you are probably engaged in doing some of this work in some way. And we just really appreciate it and look forward to partnering.
You're muted again, Vanya.
Okay, if I get muted, that means that I went to hit my slides again. Thank you. Thank you, Greg. So this is what it costs a year to incarcerate someone. And then, we know that when a person is incarcerated, they're getting mental health services, but we believe that mental health services are best provided outside of the carceral state, just because of the way they're received, the way they're delivered, and the position. There is a power dynamic when you're trying to deliver services to someone who's incarcerated. And it should start there, but we should not rely on our jails to be the holding space or place for a person to live to get those services. We pay $106,000 a year, and we could be paying a lot less. And $22,000 is the estimated annual cost for restorative reentry and wraparound services in the community. So next slide. Okay. So we talked about AB 109 happening in 2011. And it was 2014 when Prop 47 went into effect. It took 3 years for funding for Prop 47 to begin. And that was because of the way the bill was written. Criselda? Because of the way the bill was written. So we didn't see the funding for that for 3 years, but it put about $100 to $120 million a year into the work of service providers like yourselves, to counties and collaboratives like yourselves, to mental health service providers like yourselves. It did that. And so we're not quite sure what's going to happen with Prop 47 funding. I can't speak to what's going to happen. I imagine there's going to be a reduction because we're going to see upticks in people who are going to be incarcerated for those possession charges and petty theft charges. So there might be some changes to that. Prop 36 held a promise of providing money for housing and mental health services for people who are struggling with addiction. Those funds have yet to show up or arrive. And I think this is another opportunity for advocacy. If there's going to be Prop 36 resources, because we're in a county that's growing so rapidly, because we're in a county that incarcerates at a much higher rate than 56 other counties do, we want to think about having the resources we need. So when our community members return, we have resources to meet and greet and put them into the services they need. So that could be an opportunity to do some advocacy. We also know that CRC is closing. Don't know how many people are going to want to hang out. I don't know. If I was getting released from Norco, I want to get far, far away from here. But there could be some of those people are our people anyway who are going to want to remain here in the area. So we might want to consider, having resources or providing resources to those folks. And the good thing is we are not architects of the carceral system anymore. We are architects of a local reentry safety net, a local reentry ecosystem that has the solutions that we need to make sure we continue to see the successes that we've seen the past 4 years. And regardless of what we say when it's time to campaign on a bill or a ballot initiative, crime is down. And that's, you know, you guys should give yourselves a hand for that. The economy isn't very good right now, and crime is still down. So just wanted to throw that out there. Next slide. Thank you, Griselda, for what you're putting in the chat. And if you want to jump in, feel free. We're getting near the end of it. But if you want to jump in, feel free to. So we know that there's a reentry formula, and it takes all of us, you know, working together to see the kind of results that we've seen. And that's the clinical integration. That's all you health folks, behavioral health, mental health, wellness folks, you know, meditation folks, all those things, they don't sound like a lot by themselves, but when you put them together and you integrate it with the policy and access, you know, for people can get housing, can get work, and that we have a community of providers who are working together on the ground and ready, then we're creating a sustainable public safety network that will create economic growth. True reentry requires all three dimensions, and clinical care needs policy and access, just like policy and access needs the community. We need each other. And I don't want to say yes in my backyard because I don't want to get into the political part of it, but they're here. We're here. We're going to live here together. And so we just have to figure out how do we make all of us belong in this place, in our space. Next slide. So the data proves that behavioral health investment is the most effective crime deterrent. And we have to fund the infrastructure of healing, not just detaining folks. And by scaling the reentry collaborative and supporting fair chance policies, we're securing the future of the whole region. Next slide. Griselda, you wanna come off mute and say anything about the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative?
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Vonia Curls. Thank you to Starting Over for being our fiscal sponsor and seeing the vision and helping us to incubate this so that we can come together. As we're seeing, there is a big demand to organize reentry organizations to come together to figure out who's doing what's in a saturation space, what's a desert of resources. But most importantly, to go out and actually educate employers, educate landlords, educate our job seekers, so everyone knows what their role is and how we can actually build America's workforce. So thank you so much for representing the Inland Region. We do meet virtually the second Thursday of each month. I'm going to pop in some additional information into the chat here. Become a member. We do a lot of professional development. We help a lot of CBOs who are heart-led, but we're training the brain, right? Working out of their trunk. How do we get them a 501c3? How do we get them in front of funders? How do we assist them to storytell, how to advocate, how to do policy work? It's a great space. We're very active. We're ambitious as heck. And come on down and join us. And as Vonia probably mentioned, we were born under the continuum of care back in 2021, I believe. And it's come to this and much more. Thank you.
Next slide. Yeah. So I wanted to share more about Starting Over if you want to know. And I also wanted to announce, and most of you are familiar with Tamara Martin from her years at CAP and working with the County of Riverside, but she is the incoming director for Starting Over, Inc. And just wanted to put her name out there. And then there's our QR code. And if there's anything that we can do to help support, that's what Starting Over is here for. We don't have to be everything in the ecosystem. We just want to play our small part. And if there's anything that we can give, that's what we're here for. Thank you. That be it, y'all. Questions, I guess?
Vanya, before we open up to Dr. Sonia, one thing I wanted to just give a shout out is I remember in the early days when we were working on this and everything culminated with that first reentry conference. You didn't want to pat yourself on the back, but I do remember you wrote a grant that you got a pretty sizable grant that helped to finance that first conference to help it to be such a success. And it was so well attended and it kind of built momentum and it has evolved into something amazing. And just want to say thank you to both you and Griselda for all of the hard work because this is such an important initiative. Dr. Sonia, did you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. I know today is my first meeting. One of our team members, you guys know him, Javier. So he knows more about the CoC. I'm kind of new in your program. I really want to learn as much. Our director of housing is Javier. He knows more about you guys than me. So my question is actually how I really want to get involved as much as how do we get into the Starting Over Inc. And then I'm already working with people that have past history. I know how difficult it is. Fortunately, I know IHP has some programs. That's what I work with them now to help them get help through that. But I'm sure there are other things out there. So the bottom line is I need to be able to have a meeting with you guys and find out how I can get more involved in the Starting Over as much as I need to get more into CFO myself personally. Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry if I took too much of your time, but yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. And Dr. Sonia, I didn't catch which organization you're with, but I think you've taken a great step by being here at the Continuum of Care meeting. This is a wonderful network. And if you want to share your information, I can share with you about the Inland Region Reentry Collaborative. If you're doing that reentry work, Griselda would love to reach out to you. And of course, I'll provide Starting Over's info. We're probably not the collaborative you want, but we're pretty scrappy and we'll share with you whatever we know.
Yeah, that's why, my background is in the healthcare, but, when I got into community health program and then I got into community health worker and then so that's how I got into, so my background has been in healthcare. But in as much as they need the healthcare aspect of it, I know there are trainings that I can bring in to give them skill. That will be passion of mine so that they can get that skill to go out there and do things. So I really want to be involved as much as, and I know our basic thing, especially for me, getting into housing, we need funding. That's one of the things that's holding Javier back. But yeah, I will leave my information. It's Chamonix Foundation. You can check it out on the website, www.chamonixfoundation.org. So like I said, housing has been something I've been getting involved for the past 1 year just because of, my experience working out. So I work with the Restart. Actually, I go there. That's how I got into the housing to know about the homelessness. But my background has been healthcare for over 30 years.
Dr. Sonia, we could absolutely use your support and your training. What I'm learning is when I go to the substance abuse prevention and our behavioral health, there's not a lot of reentry providers in that space. And then what I'm learning, there's no substance and health in the reentry space. So we really need to be working with each other. We have tons of intersectionality and we're determined to bring everybody together. So please put your email in the chat and I'll reach out to you.
Thank you. I'll just leave it. And then, yes, if you guys, Vanya, if you can leave yours too as well, I will get hold of you. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take Tanya. We have one more comment. Ms. Tanya?
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge Vanya, great presentation, but above all, Thank you for the many beautiful years of advocacy in this space. I've known of Vanya for many years, but it was in 2020 when I took on this position with the Continuum of Care that I actually had the opportunity, our team at the Office of Homeless Services had the opportunity to work with you. And, you know, again, it's one thing to be an advocate. It's another thing when you raise an army of advocates, which is the whole crew at Starting Over, who is a great partner. As an example, was with us this morning as we were responding to the fires. And so in our team, when we meet, we often talk about the power of influence and the power of presence in using those two things to shape our system. And so, Vanya, I want to thank you because you have made it seamless for us to connect the dots between our justice system and our homeless system. And I don't think we ever really fully grasped that before making the connection to you. As a result of that, we secured a Prop 47 grant. We would have never went for an opportunity like that, right? We've always gone for traditional HUD housing assistance grants, but we use that as an opportunity to create street medicine teams like Healthcare in Action that are on the ground targeting services for justice impacted homeless individuals, which has increased our capacity, right, and the number of people that we serve. So I just, again, want to thank you for your influence, your presence, because of it, we've been able to do so much more. And Criselda, can't say enough about you. You are like the next champion in this space, right behind her. Absolutely admire you both. Thank you.
I love my community, so thank you all.
Yeah,
We're
thank
a
you.
reflection of each other.
Yeah. And I won't totally disappear. I want to work on a land trust. So the Rochelle CoC McGee Community Land Trust was launched in 2024, and we're looking to purchase this year some land somewhere in the county. So Mr. Rodriguez, if you know where we can get some land at a good rate, let us know. But we want to start making sure that after people have spent, decades paying their retribution to society, that they don't get Social Security, they don't get, unemployment or workers' comp, they don't get any of those things. So maybe we can, provide housing ownership opportunities to folks who have completed and stabilized their reentry. And, it's just something that we want to embark upon. So we'll be doing some other work. I will. Starting Over will continue. And Tamara is awesome too. I wish she was here, but she's done some amazing work too. And she understands running a leader-full organization. So we intend to continue to have leaders all over the place. So thank you all for inviting us, and thanks for allowing us to share.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Okay, old business. So we have an update on the Bain fire. So Gina?
Hello, everybody. So just real quick update. I had the pleasure and the privilege of working alongside a lot of our community partners today. So today, in a huge caravan, we met here at the Housing Authority first, and the partners that quickly assisted and were called into action was Housing Authority, Office of Homeless Services, of course, Path of Life of Ministries was well represented, as was Parks, APS, Healthcare in Action, Step Up on Second, Behavioral Health Hope Team, and CAL FIRE. So essentially what we did was we had a call all action in which we met here at our Riverside Housing Authority location. We had a quick briefing in which we discussed safety measures, impacts, the need, and then discussed exactly the locations that we would be pursuing. We quickly left and went out into the river bottom, in which the Parks and the CAL FIRE team was actually able to escort us into the areas that are currently closed. So we were able to enter into the Animal Control Center behind Van Buren. So really quick, in total, we were able to visit approximately 3 locations amongst the group. Across the 3 different locations, we were able to make contact with individuals who were displaced and who were in need. Immediate shelter opportunities were definitely offered to all of the individuals, as well as hygiene, clothing, food, and most importantly, water and medical services. Of all of the folks that were engaged today, no outside of like a pre-screening and just regular screening for medical, there was no ambulance calls, nothing that was elevated. So all of the folks were safe. We were able to ensure that all folks had an opportunity to enter shelter. Unfortunately, just due to the fire and it being very soon, a lot of the folks that we engaged were still operating under shock. So we are going back out tomorrow. So that way, if anybody changes their mind and if anybody else, we find anybody else that is in need, we'll be able to quickly assist and offer some resources. In regards to the resources that are being offered, we definitely worked very closely. So I have to thank everybody who helped. I'm not sure if those folks are on this call, but I definitely want to highlight them. We were able to work very closely with the community to identify a plethora of shelter beds, as well as other creative options for our folks that are either higher barrier or in need of higher services. So again, we will be moving forward with that tomorrow. So tomorrow we have secured shelter beds at I believe at Path of Life. One of them, as well as a couple of different other shelters, as well as some other community providers. So tomorrow we'll be coming out in full force, a little bit better prepared, because today was a little bit more of a shock to this to the system. So with that being said, we were wondering if there's any agencies here that have the ability to aid us. So if you're an agency that works in this community and you have the ability to come to the Housing Authority, we'll be hosting a briefing at 8:30 at 5555 Arlington Street. So if you're able to assist, we would definitely welcome you. If you're unable to assist in the boots on the ground measure, that's okay. We are in need of resources for our folks that have been impacted. Today, we gave out a ton of water. So our water inventory is very low. So if anybody here has water bottles or access to water in general and food, that would be ideal, because those are the things that we are in need of. I do believe we have a good amount of hygiene kits. However, we will always take more. So if there's any items that you all have that you're willing to donate to the teams, feel free to contact me and I will go ahead and coordinate that. Are there any questions, concerns?
I'm sorry. Hi, how you doing?
Hello?
How exactly do I get in contact with you?
I was going to post my email in the chat. So that way you can go ahead
Okay.
and email me, as well as my county cell phone number.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just a shout out to the HWS team. They do such a great job whenever there are disasters across the region, with the different outreach teams and funding that is allocated to the partners. They mobilize just like you're seeing to make sure that we can adequately respond to people who are impacted because of a disaster. And this fire, man, it just started to move quickly. All I can say is it's too early in the season, I think, to have a fire of this magnitude in the riverbed again. But just thank you all so much for the hard work that you're doing to make a difference.
Thank you. And then I saw a quick question in the chat, just to confirm for everybody here. The briefing will occur tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning at our Housing Authority location. I just put in my email. I'm going to be putting in my cell phone number, as well as the physical address to our building. And then Gershom, of course, you could donate a case of water. We will take it. Gladly accept it.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Okay, we're going to focus on the HUD CSE 2025 NOFO. Ms. Rashana, you are up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for being with us today. My name is Rashana Walker, a manager with the Housing and Workforce Solutions team, the Office of Homeless Services. I just want to share a quick update regarding our 2025. I'm sorry, if you can please mute yourself. Okay. Just want to share a quick update regarding our 2025 HUD Continuum of Care program. As you may recall, HUD released a NOFO last November, December sometime, which has some significant changes to the priorities and policies as the previous years. That NOFO was challenged in court, and as a result, the NOFO was rescinded, and HUD reverted back to the 2024 NOFO, which had previously described that as being a 2-year NOFO, meaning that those projects that were awarded during that NOFO would auto-renew after the first year of operation. On March 31st, we received some award letters for the quarter one projects. And then on May 5th, we received award letters for our quarter two. I'm sorry, May 5th, we received award letters for quarter two. If you can advance to the next slide, Clarice. And on the screen here, you see all of our 2025 projects. The ones that are in quarter one, and that's highlighted yellow, we have received our grant agreements for those. And then quarter two, we also received our grant agreements just recently for those as well. So now we are going through our routing process internally with our county council as well as externally with our sub-recipients. So you should receive or begin receiving those agreements for review. Another thing to note, when those agreements came out to us, there was an amendment with those grant agreements that spoke to not promoting gender ideology and the requirement of the SAVE process that checks for immigration status. However, on May 18th, which is a couple of days ago, we were notified that that amendment was being rescinded. And as you can kind of guess that there's a lot of advocacy work being done to support our HUD Continuum of Care projects. So again, our agreements have began routing for our subrecipient review and for our internal review. And then also too, just a note, I do want to mention that with these projects, because they have been operating already for a year, we are also undergoing HUD monitoring for these projects beginning the week of July 27th through the 31st. So all of these, majority of these projects are subject to auditing. We don't know which projects they will choose until right before, but just so that these agencies can just be alerted that HUD will be monitoring our projects beginning July 27th through the 31st. And then, Clarice, can you advance to the next slide? I think that may.
Craig, could you please out 5635? Craig, could you please out 5635?
Sorry about that. That was it. Does anyone have any questions? If you can go back to the last slide, I just want to point something out, Clarice. On this slide, you see the fiscal year 2024 amounts. Some of our majority of our projects, for the ones that we have already received, have gone up slightly, but then there are a couple that went down maybe at most $100, $150, and that was based on some methodology that HUD used. So that's the reason why some of those went up and others went down, but it didn't go down significant. It was just maybe, I believe the most was maybe $100, $150. But we don't have the current the amounts for the ones that we haven't seen yet. And that's the reason why we haven't put that on this chart yet. But we are receiving around the same amount that we received last year. And then also too, I have highlighted or put an asterisk and bolded 2 projects, which you will hear later in the presentation that there was an RFP that went out. So just stay tuned for that in our CLC updates. We will provide some more context on those RFPs. And that's because we had an agency who previously operated this project, but is no longer operating the project. So stay tuned for the more information on those RFPs that went out Yeah, it actually went out on yesterday. And that is it, if there are no questions or comments.
So, Ms. Rashana, to you and the rest of the team, it has been a very difficult environment to have to try to, you don't have a crystal ball. You're trying to plan with renewals. You don't know if you're going to have to completely shift priorities and have all new proposals. You guys have just done an amazing job, and not just to the HWS team, but the actual providers who are living in a period of uncertainty and trying to figure out how to reconstruct applications because of changing priorities. So I just want to congratulate you all. And that is just that's good news. It's like a little bitty rounding thing with HUD. That's like, to see the sustainability and those resources, I think, is cause for celebration. We should all be saying yay, because that's a lot of money that supports very important programs.
Right.
So
right.
good job, you guys. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for the next agenda item? Okay, meeting calendar adjustments. Clarice?
Hi everyone, my name is Clarice. I'm the OHS Admin Service Assistant. I'm currently filling in as the CoC coordinator, so you've probably seen like a couple emails come out from me. We are going to be getting a new one coming soon, so once they start, all the meeting invitations for the BOG, CoC, and the YAB will be adjusted. But any agenda item that's posted on our website is going to have the most accurate invitation link. So just keep an eye out, and it's going to be around end of June, early July. And that's it. Thank you, Karen.
Miss Clarice, you're
Thank you.
doing double duty. I think all of us have experienced where we're doing our regular job and then we fill in to do another job. You know what that's like, where you're juggling balls. She's handled it with grace. So we just appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, next agenda item. Okay, Miss Tanya, you're on deck.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Before moving into the chair and vice chair election process, I have to begin this way and take a moment to acknowledge our current CoC leadership. I want to thank Karen Roper, who currently serves as our chair, and Michelle Davis, who serves as our vice chair as they complete their current term in June 2026. I hope you'll get a chance to hear from both of them either today or before they complete their term, because they together have, I would say, over like 2 years of service. But over the last 2 years in their last term, as you've seen, they've helped facilitate these meetings, and you need to know that there's a lot of prep, as you can imagine, that goes into coordinating speakers, but also, making sure that we're moving action items that align with our homeless action plan and our mission. And their both leadership and commitment to help strengthen collaboration has gone a really long way. I especially want to recognize Karen because she has been a consistent face at all of these meetings and has gone above and beyond in her current role as chairs. There's many examples of this, but if needing to narrow down and not take up the whole next hour, I wanted to highlight 2. She's been instrumental in adding the leadership spotlight, which provides a space where we can raise awareness about great programs, but also great leaders in this space, as we've heard from one of them, actually 2 of them today when we started the meeting. But I think the other key role that Karen has played has been increasing our visibility across the entire region, in her meetings with the cities, in our joint meetings with the cities. We've tagged her in to many county city meetings where she has been able to act as the CoC chair to talk about the things that are important to you. The priorities that you have shared need to be on the table, as well as elevating that voice across the state and our federal partners. So now as I move on to talk about the current terms, Karen, I would like to hand this over to you so you can talk about, you know, any reflections you have regarding your current terms. And Michelle, if you're here, we'd love to hear from you as well. But so the entire Continuum of Care knows, we will be dropping a link into the chat where you can nominate chairs for a new 2-year term through June 2028. I should say the new term will begin July 1st, 2026 and run through June 2028. Nominations for both chair and vice chair will be open through June 3rd. And then following the close of those nominations, we will then be sending out an official ballot where you, the Continuum of Care members who have voting privileges, will be, and again, that's all based on your attendance, and we can go, you can check in with us at any time to figure out where you're at in that process, or if you need to complete a membership application, just reach out to us at coc@rivco.org. But a ballot will go out. You'll be able to vote, and our plan is to announce the new chair and vice chair elected at our next CoC meeting in June, with the expectancy that they will start in those new roles beginning July 1st. So with that, I just want to thank you guys for your time on this item. And then Karen and Michelle, if Michelle's here, I'll go ahead and shift it back to you guys in case you have any comments, reflections regarding your current terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya, and to the members of the Continuum of Care. It's truly been an honor to serve all of you. I just consider myself as a team player in this whole region, and I've really just wanted to do everything that I could to transform the meetings into just going from a meeting for the sake of meeting, but really to focus on strategy so that we could be successful as a system. And you've seen a lot of things happen through the focus on those strategies. That's why we're going to be revisiting the Homeless Action Plan, but just making sure that what we're doing is going to educate you and empower you to be successful because you're doing the important work across the region. I haven't had a chance to talk to every single one of you, because I wanted to get feedback from the Continuum of Care if they felt that they were ready for new leadership or for the currents to reapply. And so I've talked to some folks across the Continuum of Care, and folks have suggested that I continue to think about running as the chair. That'll be your decision as you weigh in on the nominations. But if the Continuum of Care would like me continue, I'm happy to do it. I just want you guys to be successful as a region. It does come with a lot of time commitment. I spend a lot of time, especially as the chair, with the county and trying to collaborate with our nonprofit partners and with the cities. So, somebody that wants to take on the role needs to be serious about the time commitment, because it's not about a title. It's about trying to do everything you can to help the system and the agencies to be successful, to really be a true servant leader. So I just want to leave you with that and just say that you all are amazing, and it's a complete honor and privilege to work with you. I know Michelle was not able to make it today, but as I understand it, I think she's interested in running as vice chair. So with that, any questions or comments before we go to the next agenda item? Okay, let's go on to the next agenda item. Okay, agenda item 6.2, Inland Empire Housing Conference and Youth Summit. Gershom.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Perfect. Thanks, Clarice. Alrighty, so I would just like to provide a brief recap of the 2026 Inland Empire Housing Conference and Youth Summit that took place last month at the Riverside Convention Center. So overall, this event brought together housing professionals, homeless service providers, advocates, and community partners from across the Inland Empire to discuss the current housing landscape, the regional challenges, and overall the collaborative strategies that are being used to strengthen our homeless response system. And so you can proceed to the next slide, Clarice. So the conference began with an informational session that focused on the current state of California's housing market and some emerging regional trends. The presenter provided a quick snapshot of housing affordability activity across Riverside County and some of the neighboring metropolitan areas, highlighting how housing affordability continues to impact residents throughout our region. One of the major points actually discussed was that that Riverside County experienced a 3% increase in home purchase cancellations, which was identified as the highest rate within the last 3 years. And so, there was additional discussion centered around how rising housing costs, increasing interest rates, and as well as the continued economic uncertainty are creating additional barriers to housing stability, as well as homeownership opportunities for many individuals and families in our community, especially amongst the Tay population as well. And so, from the early on, my colleague Marielle and I, we had this vision where we wanted, to have some sort of summit within Riverside County to address, some of the challenges that the Tay population specifically is experiencing, many of whom are identified as opportunity youth. And so, as a response, sorry about that, folks. I don't know what that was, but so following the opening session that we had, we did have our youth breakout sessions, which focused heavily on housing stability, provider wellness, and overall strengthening the homeless youth system of care. And so during this discussion, presenters emphasized evidence-based strategies and best practices that support long-term housing stability for youth and vulnerable populations. The conversations also focused on not only helping individuals obtain housing, but also on developing systems and supports that address the real-world challenges that individuals may face after being housed. And so I just wanted to, just give a huge thanks to Tanya for allowing this to all come into fruition. And I think that she said it best at the event. She had stated that the reason why we decided to do this was because everyone deserves to eventually obtain home ownership, especially the youth. The youth deserve to have the future that they dream of. So just wanted to quickly give thanks to Tanya for allowing all this to happen. And so another important topic that was discussed during the summit was provider wellness and self-care. The session emphasized that effective client services are strongest when providers themselves are supported and equipped and overall empowered to sustain recovery oriented and trauma-informed care. So the presenters discussed restorative practices, burnout prevention, and the importance of creating a healthier workplace and within the homeless service system. So we knew that this work can be tough at times, and we definitely want to prevent that burnout. But at the end of the day, I think what's important to remember is that we're all still here because at the end of the day we care, and because we're all good at our jobs, right? So I just wanted to give thanks to everyone who was able to attend this session. And then lastly, just a thank you to my supervisor, Amy, as well, who, opened us up with the session and, reinforced the importance of maintaining a coordinated youth-centered approach to ending and preventing youth homelessness in Riverside County. She highlighted how, Riverside County, the Office of Homeless Services continues, to commit to ensuring that transitional age youth providers have access to resources, partnerships, and support systems that are necessary to help youth successfully obtain and maintain stable housing. So overall, that was pretty much what we focused on during our youth breakout session. And then if you can go to the next slide, Clarice. I also wanted to give a special thanks to our youth advisory board. So on screen, you can see Terry, Tori, Clarice, and Ebony, who did an excellent job with, handing out resources and information to all the attendees. Again, to Tanya for, allowing this event to, come into fruition, allowing us to, be a part of the housing conference. And lastly, First District Supervisor Jose Medina for being that notable public figure and for always representing us as well. So just wanted to give everyone a huge thanks, and thank you to all those who did attend. If you folks have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at coc@rifco.org. But other than that, I can go ahead and pass it on back over to Karen Roper. Thank you.
Nice job. Does anybody have any questions or comments? That work in that space is so important. So to the team, all the team members that are involved, thank you so much. And congratulations for the great progress that you've made. Let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 6.3, the 26 CSE NOFO. Rashana?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. If you can advance to the next slide, Clarice. I just wanted to inform the continuum of care that there is a forecasted, HUD has forecasted for the 2026 NOFO to be released soon, very soon, in about next week. So we want to give everyone some some timelines and some information regarding this NOFO. And Karen, you talked about it briefly earlier in the presentation. So I just want to give you guys some estimated time. We do not know until it actually comes out what the NOFO is going to look like, but we are taking some time to prepare for it now rather than being shocked later, being that it seems like it will be similar to what was released back in the November, December time. So they're estimating to post it by May 29th. And then that application due date to HUD will be August 26th. So it doesn't give us a whole lot of time with all of the requirements we have to do to submit an application. They're estimating that award date will be around December time, and then project start dates will be around January. So Clarice, if you can advance to the next slide. So as I stated earlier, there may be there's some tentative changes to the HUD 2026 NOFO based on what we saw back in last year. It focused last year. It showed that it focused on addiction treatment within the homeless community, with an emphasis on recovery and self-sufficiency. Eligible uses of the funding: transitional housing, rapid rehousing, and permanent supportive housing. Also, street outreach was mentioned in that last NOFO as well, so that could be a possibility as well. Some provisions include the case management, substance use disorder treatment, mental health, street outreach, employment assistance, job training, childcare, and outpatient healthcare. HUD is encouraging participation and partnership from a wide range of providers. So faith-based, law enforcement, first responders, substance use programs or providers, specialty courts, mental health providers, and emergency shelters. So just to give you some ideas of what this NOFO may look like. Last year, we're not sure if it's going to show in this RFP, but it prohibits on operating so-called safe consumption sites for drugs for violation. So these are just some tentative changes based on the NOFO that came out that was rescinded early last year, beginning of this year. So just I advise and encourage all of you providers who may be thinking about applying for our local RFP competition to constantly check HUD's website. There is a lot of information that is posted there on their website for you to get familiar with now, so that when the time that we release the RFP, you will be a little more aware of what we may be looking for. If you advance to the next slide, we wanted to provide a tentative timeline for our local RFP. Did I? Oh, no. Oh. Well, there's another slide that I'm not sure why it's not in there, but we have a local RFP, and I can provide just a snapshot of that in the chat as soon as I quit talking, but I'll provide that where we intend to release a local RFP around June 3rd, 4th sometime. So that gives us some time to plan for receiving of the applications. And I believe our the close date, the tentative close for that is June 28th. And I'm going based off of memory because I don't know what happened to my slide, but June 28th. And then we want to have about a 2-week review period after that for those applications to be reviewed, ranked, and scored. And then around July 20th, 21st, we have to have a BOG meeting so that we can, so the BOG can approve the recommendations for the project.
Make sure that we've restocked and we cleaned up and all that good stuff, please.
Sorry about that. But around July 20th, 21st, we plan on having a BOG meeting to approve the recommendations for the projects that will be included in our regional application to HUD, which that application to HUD is due August 29th. Yeah, that application to HUD is due August 29th. So between the BOG meeting, July 20th or 21st, we have to post and notify those agencies that will be included within 30 days, within 30 days of the application due date, 15 to 30 days of the application due date to HUD. So I apologize that you can't see it on screen. I'm not sure what happened to I can see it now. I don't know where. Okay. I apologize you can't see it on screen, but we will include that in the information that will be posted on the G Drive. And with that being said, I will open it up for any questions or comments.
Rashana, Jamie has a question. She wants to know if the renewals will sunset in the upcoming HUD NOFO.
So yeah, so there is an opportunity for renewals as well as new projects. We believe there is opportunity will be opportunities for renewals as well as new projects in this new NOFO, and we're anticipating between 30 to 60% of our annual renewal demand to be included for our application. So yes, we will be looking for renewals as well as new projects. But again, I encourage for all organizations, whether you will be renewing or new organizations, to visit the HUD's website. And when the NOFO comes out, please read it carefully, because there may be some changes and tweaks in that NOFO. So until it comes out, we don't know exactly what will be on it. We're just guesstimating right now, but we want to be ahead of the game versus waiting till it is actually fully out.
So to the team, does that mean you're going to do a dual track so you can be ready for renewals, but then pivot for new priorities? Because you guys kind of had to be ready for both. So is that the kind of the game plan? Because I know when we were discussing the new priorities, it was a whole new set of priorities.
Yeah, so we're pivoting from from that. And thank you for bringing that up. We're pivoting from that the late last year model that we were going after, because the reason why we were pivoting completely away from it is because of the time. And that's the reason why this NOFO was actually one of the reasons why that NOFO was challenged in court. But we have a little more time with this NOFO, so we want to be ready for new and renewal. And they are they're actually going to provide. I think we're hearing up to 60% of permanent housing. And before it was only 30%. So it's up to 60% that we're hearing. So we don't know. Again, it's a lot of unknown, but we just want to get ahead of it as much as we can.
Ms. Karen Younglow? Did you have a question, Karen? Or comment? I see your hand up. You're on mute. We would love to hear from you. She might be having technical difficulties. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the 26 NOFO? Going once. Okay. Sorry that you're having technical difficulties, Ms. Karen Younglow. We'd love to hear from you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item then. Ms. Tanya, should we table this to finish the rest of the agenda items? Because we don't have to take action.
Agreed. I like it. And if we do have time at the end, we can always bring it back.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and go to the next agenda item. We want to make sure we get everything in. Standing agenda items. Okay. CSC lead agency update. Ms. Roshana, you're up again.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. And I'll try to be quick. I just want to provide you with updates and announcements that you may or may not have already seen. But if you have saw or kept up with on our listserv, we had a couple of RFPs that were released recently, and starting with our shared housing and unit matching program, the initiative that we talked about a couple of meetings ago with here at this meeting when we asked for feedback. So part of that RFP contained 3 sections. One for the technology platform, the second is for the shared housing program operator, and then the third part of that RFP is for consulting services. So that RFP is due right around the corner, May 25th by 5 p.m. And you can find all of these RFPs, as I will talk about, on our website, and I just put the link in the chat. Secondly, we have a youth homelessness demonstration program project for permanent supportive housing that was also released. And that program, that RFP, the due date for that is June 15th, again by 5 p.m. And that is seeking proposals for private or nonprofits qualified in providing permanent supportive housing to transitional age youth ages 18 to 24. So we're looking for an operator for a permanent supportive housing project for transitional age youth. And then lastly, as I spoke about earlier with our 2025 HUD NOFO, we're seeking proposals for qualified agencies to provide rapid rehousing services to chronically homeless families with children with the focus on veterans. And then the second population is individuals fleeing domestic violence. So we are looking for rapid rehousing providers to provide assistance for those who are fleeing domestic violence, as well as those chronically homeless families with children, with the focus on veteran families. That RFP is due June 12th, again by 5 p.m. And all of our bids are posted on our website at that link that I provided in the chat. And then lastly, I will talk about, we do have an upcoming RFP for HAP round 6. We will be releasing that RFP based on the funding allocations that were presented in this meeting back in August when we were preparing for the application. We will be releasing that RFP around the beginning of June. So that, be on the lookout for that one. That one again will also be listed on our website as well. Any questions?
Ms. Shoshana, if you don't mind, Karen Younglow, regarding the past, the 26 NOFO, she's asking, will the renewal project need to apply as a new project or as renewal projects as we usually do? So
as for now, until the NOFO comes out, we're thinking that you can apply as a renewal project. Okay. So we are encouraging for you, if you would like to apply in your renewal, just apply as a renewal. Again, a disclaimer, we won't know for sure until the NOFO actually comes out, but we believe that you can apply as a renewal project.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with
I
don't know what's wrong with my computer. I think I have the same gremlin, Karen, that you had. Thank you, Rashada. That's what I thought, but I know we're all like still trying to figure this out. So I get it. I understand that that's as it stands today. So I get it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. It's always lovely to hear from you. Okay, and then any questions on these other RFPs and programs that Rashana announced today? Remember, you can always, if something comes to mind later, you can email us at coc@ribco.org. So just know we're always here to answer your questions. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Okay, coordinated entry lead update. Miss Lucy, you're on deck, and June too.
Good afternoon. I will be going over the CES lead update for the data for April. We do next slide. So I'll be going over some data as mentioned and trends and go over some monthly announcements. Next slide. Thank you. So for the month of April, there were about 2,128 calls received from Home Connect or to Home Connect, and 609 of them were connected. So our Home Connect team provided diversion resources to 532 callers, screening for 140 members. And of those screens, they were 28 families, one identified as a veteran, 28 callers were 55 plus, and 7 of which were transitional aged youth, meaning they were 18 to 24. Next slide, please. And for the month of April, there were 993 members on the queue, with 214 of those being new additions. For cities with the highest numbers of those on the queue, we have Riverside at 257, which is roughly like a 3% jump from March's queue at 248. Indio also saw a slight increase in numbers, going from 150 to 164 members on the queue. And finally, Palm Springs actually saw a reduction of about 20-ish%, going from 137 in the month of March to 107 this last month. So while a few of our numbers did go up, CES does see this as an opportunity in having more households not only get onto the queue and be put through the coordinated entry system and be connected to services that they are in need of, including housing. So not only did CES see an increase in the amount of referrals sent in the month of April at 56 compared to the 47 we linked to opportunities in the month of March. And this also comes from an uptick in referrals that were from February at 21. So we did 21 February, 47 in March, and then 56 at April. So we're going upstream. So that's good. And 11 of the 56 April referrals were referred to permanent supportive housing opportunities, and the remaining 45 were referred to rapid rehousing opportunities. And out of those connected for prioritized populations, there were 22 TAYs, transitional aged youth, 11 that were 55 and over, 3 that were veteran, and 19 fleeing domestic violence. Slide. We are requesting presenters. We've had a few agencies reach out since our last meeting, and I'm currently working with each agency one at a time to schedule them on to avoid double booking for the next couple of months. But if you are interested in presenting, please reach out to me. These presentations will be for my biweekly CES partnership meeting, many of which that are on this call are on that call as well. And those resource meetings are to spotlight agencies, programs, services once a month to service providers that are on the call and advise them of the services that are out here for our members. If you're interested in sitting in on these meetings, we also hold a case conferencing meeting on the alternate Tuesday partnership, where caseworkers will fill out a caseworker form or case conferencing form, sorry, and they will present their clients to the experts on the call. So the result is participants that are on the call will provide recommendations, suggestions for the caseworker to break down any barriers that they may be having in housing their members. So please reach out to me if you are interested in attending those. Next slide. If there's any recommendations for the CES processes or any concerns, please reach out to us. We are happy to collaborate to make the system smoother. I am working with the team to create a survey to share with you all that revolves around CES feedback, and I'm aiming to roll that out to you all for the hopefully for the next month's meeting. Next slide. Other than that, please feel free to reach out to any one of us with your CES questions and concerns, or if you or your agency have any training needs, please reach out to myself, whether it's at an individual level, team, or full agencies. We are more than happy to accommodate. Even if it's just refreshers, just let us know. Other than that, that is all I have. Victoria, I do see your chat. I will put my email in the chat just in case when this slide goes down, and you can reach out to me and I'll be happy to connect with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's hear it.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is June. June Zhang. I provide administrative support for the coordinated entry system. We're going to do a little dive into the veteran and TAY subpopulation on the CES queue. So we'll start on the next slide with veterans. So this will be for activity April 2026. We had 46 veterans on the CES community queue, 12 of which were document ready for potential referrals, with 4 veteran members with pending rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing referrals. Next slide, please. For the TAY subpopulation, there were 95 on the community queue, 28 of which were new additions in the month of April, and 15 were exited from the queue in April. And I know that May's not over yet, but definitely expect a large number of TAY transitional housing and rapid rehousing referrals for the month of May for the next update. The YHDP program is doing a great job of providing lots of vacancies for us to fill. So definitely expect some good news from us for next month for TAY referrals. Next slide, please. For any members who are experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of homelessness, they can contact the 800 number that you see below. It's going to be that second number. Our office line is going to be the first number. And if you have any members who are looking to email us instead. They can also email homeconnect@ruhealth.org. So that is for caseworkers, CoC partners, and also members in the CoC. Do you have any questions for the veterans or TAs on the queue?
June, the slide where you're talking about the Veterans for Housing, I understand there's a wait list for VASH vouchers. I was talking to Oscar from the VA recently. I'm not sure if he's on with us today, but I understand the wait list is pretty long for VASH for our vets.
For VASH, that would be a separate part of the Housing Authority waitlist. For CES, we are given specific vouchers for those units. Sometimes it can be a VASH voucher, sometimes it's not, so it's kind of harder to say. So if we have a referral to a purely VASH unit, it wouldn't show up on that report. So just some clarification there. So for example, if it was a Veterans Village of Cathedral City CES specific unit, then it would show up on that report.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're very
Anybody
welcome.
else have any questions? Good job, you guys. It's nice to see the coordinated entry system at work.
Thank you,
we
Madam
love,
Chair.
Yeah, we love to see coordinated entry system and the homeless management information system, all extremely valuable data at our fingertips. So yes, very important. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item A3, Housing Resource Policy Update, Greg Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we go to the next slide, please. There's going to be a lot here, but I'll get through it relatively quickly. The biggest reporting right now for this month is the governor's budget may revise. Again, a lot of words on these, but I'll kind of briefly cap them. Many of you are familiar with the community supports under CalAIM, primarily for housing supports, housing navigation, et cetera. There is a reduction in the amount that will be allocated for those. There's still some lobbying going on within the legislature to restore some of that funding. But again, much like we anticipated, there will be some reductions in those funding. You'll see that the Department of Healthcare Services has said that the community supports that are being utilized for enrollees right now shouldn't be impacted on that. On county Medi-Cal administration, some good news that counties will receive some additional funding for Medi-Cal eligibility changes. These are primarily due to HR 1, which requires the redetermination for eligibility starting next January every 6 months. So that puts a severe burden upon primarily Department of Public and Social Services within the county, as well as other county departments for those redeterminations. So at least there's some dollars to help assist with that. We can go to the next slide, please. On housing, really the only particular item on housing was again, the reorganization and plan to establish out of HCD, the separate Department of California Housing and Homeless Agency. There, again, in the budget revised, there was no mention of the $10 billion bond from Assemblymember Wicks and Senator Calvedon. That still bond is moving through the legislature, so we'll update as we get further details on that as well. And then if we go to the next slide, I'll spend a little bit of time on HAP funding for round 7. As many of you know, the legislature allocated last year's budget $500 million for this upcoming fiscal year, which is a weird budget trick. The governor left or didn't add any new funding for HAP or any indications of around 8. Again, there is massive lobbying going on by statewide organizations, by California State Association of Counties, by the League of Cities, the big city mayors, to increase that amount to $1 billion. So we'll see how the legislature acts on that. What was included, though, is the governor's talked a lot about accountability. And so in the trailer bill language, you'll see them bullet pointed there about a local match, about pro-housing designation. Those are the two big ones. And then also a compliant housing element, which has been there this past year. I want to give kudos to Mike because our Mike Walsh just sent an email to our legislative team at the county that is working with CSAC on this trailer bill language. And Mike did some really good explaining about some of the concerns we have, primarily around the pro-housing designation for those organizations or jurisdictions, excuse me, that are in the process of getting a pro-housing designation, such as the County of Riverside, what that means. The language is not quite clear yet. And if the allocation is not awarded, say, to the county for lack of having a pro-housing designation, where do those funds then go? So that's one of the big questions we have. And then really a lot of conversations around the matching requirement. And what does that mean for cities? What does that mean for counties? What is considered matching dollars? I was on a statewide coalition call yesterday where conversations around whether some of the HUD dollars would qualify as matching dollars. If the Behavioral Health Services Act, their housing dollars, would that qualify as a match? Could possible previous, recent investments in housing or on programs count as well? So there's still determining the language on that. Again, a lot of lobbying efforts around that for some of the concerns on that. We'll go to the next slide. I'll go over these relatively quickly. These are items or pieces of legislation that have removed from the suspense file, excuse me. So they'll go to the floor for further consideration. AB 1997 is basically designating that if 90% of units within an affordable housing development are for low or extremely low income, then they have to approve the project within 30 days of an EIR, environmental impact report, basically speeding up the entitlement process. AB 2348, this basically goes in conjunction with the community supports, extending that within California past the sunset date. However, again, this does depend on whether the federal government renews the waiver as well as funding made available. Next slide, please. AB 2567 would require a county to determine CalWORKs applicants' apparent eligibility for immediate assistance or homeless assistance without requiring a lot of the additional proof that's been required. So again, these would be such income streams as unemployment insurance, Social Security benefits, veterans benefits, or state disability. So again, hopefully getting people into care quicker without burdensome economic or income qualification. And last slide, I believe. This is a piece of legislation that died. Karen and I have had a lot of discussions on this, as well as many of us throughout the state. But this would have established criteria for funding in HAP Round 8 to allow a portion of the funding to be allocated to smaller jurisdictions. As Karen and I have talked a lot about, and Karen has talked with Tanya and Heidi and Mike about how we've done such an amazing job of the regional development within the county and how this really probably would disincentivize that regional approach. So we are glad, and many, if not all, housing and homeless advocates are glad that this didn't pass. So happy to take any questions. I'll just piggyback on Rashana's comments about the NOFO. So there is lobbying within Congress, as well as some rulemaking about not making the NOFO as bad as it was last year. Additionally, the House looks like they're going to vote on the homeless housing actually roadmap that the Senate passed sometime this week, supposedly possibly tomorrow. So we'll keep you updated on that. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
I don't see any hands up yet. I do have, first of all, good job as usual, Greg. A couple of thoughts that come to mind. If they regarding HAP and a match, if they were to do some language that would incentivize the funding of systems, whether that's, from a collaborative approach so that you could get credit for other things that you're contributing, as opposed to dollar for dollar with a focused activity, giving more flexibility and incentivizing when people are investing more to address the issue wouldn't be so bad. But dollar for dollar match is going to be difficult if it's targeted straight to, the specific activity that HAP is funding. So I hope enough people will rise to the occasion to give feedback and sway them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and especially Karen with the effects of HR1 on other social benefits and other entitlement programs. Our county is looking at some realistic, hard decisions to be made, and some real huge budget impacts from that. And that will be reflected in this next year's fiscal year budget. So hopefully they're getting that message in Sacramento. Again, I'm sure I haven't heard any concrete stuff what CSAC is doing or League of Cities, but again, they're always looking out for, especially the smaller jurisdictions that don't have that. And even though Riverside is a large jurisdiction, we understand that this local match is something that LA is fine with, but we got to keep in mind that LA also has sources of revenue through bonds and other taxes that most jurisdictions do not have. So.
And Chris Oberg, thank you. She's talking about an in-kind match was important too. It's powerful and it's valuable. So I think, to try to give feedback about a smart policy is so important at this time in our history. The other thing too, I just want to double back about AB 1708. The reason why we had strong voices about that is that local jurisdictions, cities could have applied all along. There was nothing preventing them from that. But the way that the continuum of care is structured is based on data where the need is. So, if you've got the data to show you have a need, that's where the resources should be targeted, and also like a sub-regional approach. So there's plenty of room at the tables for cities to collaborate, and that is super important. So I just wanted to mention that. So thank you again for all your work, Greg. So you got your finger on the pulse.
My pleasure. Thanks, Karen.
Anything else for us, Greg, or are we ready to move to the next agenda item?
Nope, move on.
Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, so let's see. We got just a few minutes left. I think we have a quorum, so we can go ahead and take action on the minutes, which was agenda item 7 for the meeting minutes for the last Continuum of Care meeting that we had. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? It is under agenda item 7, and you all have a copy of the minutes in the Google Drive. Anybody?
Motion to approve, Chris Oberg.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have a second?
Motion to approve, Victoria Vargas.
Okay. I heard 2 people in there who were the voting agencies. Was that James Brooks from Mercy House?
Correct.
Okay. Do I have any abstentions or objections? Hearing none, the item passes for agenda item 7 for the meeting minutes. Agenda item 9, that there are no current committee reports, which if there were, they'd be available for you in the Google Drive. And I want to say, like, my favorite thing to do, letters of support. You guys are, applying for grants. Please ask us to sign those letters. Ask us to help you with strategy, data, whatever. We want to bring more resources into Riverside County, and we want you to be successful. So just a plug there. If there were any annual performance reports to review, they would be there in the Google Drive. There are none. So moving on to the next agenda item. Do we have any call for agenda items for the June meeting? Anybody? Okay, again, if you have any ideas, you can always email us. We'd love to hear from you. Moving on to the next agenda item. Okay, announcements. You guys, please don't be shy. Who has exciting announcements? What's going on in your neck of the woods? Any exciting event that's happening? Any new program? Any challenge? Any request? Like announce it now. Let's hear from you. Anybody? You're like, it's 2 minutes to the hour. Okay, if we don't.
Well, our only request is that we need help. That's it. We need to get into the grant and get more information, especially, like I said, for me. Javier knows more than I do. So, yeah. So I'm going to reach out so that I can get into
that sounds good.
Program. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carol? Miss Carol. Alba. Hello, Carol. Let's hear from you.
Well, we're very excited because we have
the Riverside Probation Department bringing criminal defense services to our agency once a month, free of charge. So we're very excited about that because so many of the folks we work with need advice or they need consultation about their situation, and now they can get it. So we're really happy about that.
Nice work. Thank you for announcing. Okay, Carolina.
Hi, everybody. Carolina with the Happier Life Project. I did put a flyer in the chat. We have the BSCC Adult Reentry Grant. So working with some housing dollars for our people that have CDC numbers. You know, there's some contact information on there. We are helping with move-in funds, eviction prevention, as well as supportive housing and workforce development. So I put the information there for our partners that may find in need. Please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, let's go to the next agenda item. Okay, everybody, look at that, 5 o'clock on the dot. Give yourselves a pat on the back. How about that for staying within the exact allotted time? I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you for all the amazing work that you do to invest in the lives of others. We appreciate you so much. The meeting is adjourned.
Bye. Take care.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.